Welcome back. The NBA trade deadline is 1 month away, February 5th, and the rumor mill is heating up here. The biggest question, of course, is Giannis if he's in play. Then you got players like Trae Young, you got Jonathan Kuminga, Michael Porter Jr., Zach LaVine also drawing some interest. Buckle up, folks, because deadline chaos is coming up. And with that, welcome in Sam Quinn and Nicole. Hello to the two of you. Happy New Year. Let's start with the top here. The Bucks and their two-time MVP Giannis sitting atop nearly every trade target list here. Teams like the Hawks and others are linked as questions swirling around Milwaukee and what they do in this window, Sam.
Yeah, I think this is probably going to be more of an offseason thing than a deadline thing. The Bucks have started to play well. They're in the middle of an easy stretch of schedule. Gets a little bit harder in January. Maybe Giannis will revisit things at that point. But it seems by all accounts that the Bucks are waiting for an official trade request. Giannis has not made one yet. And it seems like he's taking every effort not to make one because he doesn't want to be seen as the villain in Milwaukee. So I think this is going to drag into the offseason. That being said, there have been all these rumors. He wants to play in New York. New York is the team he wants to go to. Well, the Knicks are playing so well right now, they might not want to break up their potential championship team. And even if they did, I'm not sure the Bucks would want anything that they have. So you have to look around the league. Who's going to be willing to trade for Giannis without the assurance that he would extend? I think the obvious fit here would be the Miami Heat for a bunch of reasons, right? They have the warm weather, which he reportedly wants. They have that winning culture, shares an agent with Bam Adebayo. They'd be a great partnership. But more than anything, last night, Giannis Antetokounmpo says, when I play point guard, we win. He wants to have the ball in his hands. Most of the kinds of contenders that would trade for him already have another offense-centric star that's going to eat up possessions. He goes to Miami, pair him with Bam Adebayo. You put Tyler Hero in that trade. You say, Giannis, the ball is yours. Run the team, and I think that's what he wants.
Yeah, I agree with Sam completely. I definitely think this is going to be an off-season thing just because when you look at the Miami Heat currently, they don't have quite enough just yet where I think it warrants a Giannis trade. That Milwaukee would be satisfied. You talk about a player of Giannis's caliber, constantly in MVP conversations, one of the greatest in the league, one of the greatest we've seen play the game. They're going to want a lot of return. And any trade package is going to include Tyler Hero. But the kicker is that the Miami Heat get 2 more first-round picks if we take this into the offseason, which allows them to really put up a really lucrative, entertaining, just satisfying trade offer for the Milwaukee Bucks if Giannis ultimately decides that he wants to leave. Now, I don't know if Miami is going to play a little bit of a desperate game here, because if Giannis does go into the free market, how confident are you that you're going to be able to put together the biggest trade package to get him? But to Sam's point, Giannis has not gone ahead and asked for a trade yet. That gives all parties involved some more time to kind of just take a deep breath and figure things out. But I do think that if this ultimately happens, which I just think it is a matter of if, not when, or a matter of when, not if, I think it happens in the offseason.
Well, after putting in that many years of Wisconsin winters, I don't blame him for wanting to go somewhere a little bit warmer. Guys, Anthony Davis also in the middle of the buzz here. The Mavericks weighing a reset, and his health is always a question. Does Dallas hold or move him before February 5th, Sam?
Yeah, I think cooler heads have prevailed here. Nico Harrison obviously gone. I think they recognize in Cooper Flagg, they have somebody who can be a perpetual MVP candidate. They have to take this opportunity now to put a younger team around him, a group of players that can grow with him as he grows into his stardom. And Anthony Davis, 32, injury prone, extension eligible in the offseason, just doesn't fit on that timeline. I think they've realized that, and they're looking around and saying, we don't control our own first-round picks between 2027 and 2030. We have to maximize this year's pick by starting to lose some games, and we have to turn Anthony Davis into a package of whether it's picks or young players or some combination while we can, because we can't risk him getting hurt and losing all of his trade value. So I think there's interest from several teams across the league. We've heard Toronto. We've heard Atlanta. I think Golden State is the ideal trade partner for a few reasons. Number one, in Jonathan Kuminga, they do have a younger player that the Mavericks might want to take as like, high upside swing. Hasn't worked out in Golden State, but it takes a very specific sort of player to work for the Warriors. Maybe in a different environment, a more typical NBA environment, Kuminga could grow into that star that the Warriors hoped he would be when they drafted him in the lottery. You'd have to include Draymond Green from a salary matching standpoint. I think that's a little bit more powerful palatable now than it has been in the past. Draymond hasn't been quite as good this season. Obviously, he's had some locker room issues where he refused to go back into a game. He's obviously he's always had his weaknesses as a player. He's not really a scorer. He's not really much of a shooter. I think the Warriors would be a little bit more amenable to including him now. And when you just look at Anthony Davis as a guy they've pursued forever as that vertical spacer, that rim protector they've always wanted, I think the fit from a basketball standpoint is very strong.
I think we could also look at the Detroit Pistons, and I say that for a few reasons. I think that if the Pistons were to go after an Anthony Davis with how the Eastern Conference looks right now, wide open, right? And yes, the Boston Celtics are surprising a lot of people, including this New York Knicks fan who thought that they would just be a non-conversation, right? But I think that with how the Eastern Conference looks, Anthony Davis does make them better. You also talk about how they have great depth. They also have that expiring contract, a big expiring contract of Tobias Harris, around $25 million. And like I said, they have the pieces to put together a nice trade package for the Dallas Mavericks, who are going to look to rebuild their team, a younger team with Cooper Flagg at the forefront, right? You have Karis LeVert, you have Jaden Ivey. You have a bunch of pieces that could make a situation interesting for the Dallas Mavericks. But again, you have to wonder what Anthony Davis's trade market is, because of how his career has had a lot of ups and downs. And there's another name on this list that we'll get to that I feel the same way about. But I also think the Pistons could be an interesting team to watch as well.
Yeah, and Sam, you hit the nail on the head with Warriors fans and Draymond Green. We are at our wits' end at this point. But guys, the Atlanta Hawks may be signaling an exit ramp for their three-time All-Star point guard Trae Young after just a middling season. His high usage style has multiple teams circling. It seems like you guys like the same place. So Ashley, I'm just going to come to you on this one. Why do you think the Kings is the landing spot for him?
The Kings are just in a complete rebuild, right? And Trae Young is an interesting player, right? He's very hard to play with because of how he plays. And I think the Kings are one of those teams, and I'm sure Sam can agree with this, the expectations are just not there. So it's not like you're trading away or you're trading a player to a market expecting him to turn it around. The Kings have gone through a lot of ebbs and flows, and they just have not manifested into the team that they expected themselves to be when they went on that crazy kind of run a few years ago. They've been looking to trade Zach LaVine. They've been looking to trade DeMar DeRozan. And the Hawks, each and every season, we've heard rumblings of them trying to trade Trae Young. They're just not being a market for him. So I just think that this is going to be one of those situations where you have two teams looking to dump players for different reasons. And listen, you scratch my back and I scratch yours.
All right, one more to get here. And it's a really complicated one, Sam. Zion Williamson, the upside potentially has been there for so long, but the man can't stay healthy. So what are we looking at as we get to February 5th here?
Yeah, Zion has been playing very well since he came back from his latest injury. And I feel like if you're the Pelicans, you got to be thinking, let's make a trade before he gets hurt again. We can't take the risk. He does have a non-guaranteed contract, which helps you. It does remove some of the risk in a trade. I think you're looking for a team that has a bunch of expiring contracts because the Pelicans are going to want to save some money here. They need to save some money to go get a center to protect the rim next to Derek Queen. Maybe throw in one first-round pick, one young player, something like that to sweeten the pot a little bit. The team that makes the most sense to me are the Chicago Bulls. They've been looking for their Pascal Siakam because they think that Josh Giddey is the next Tyrese Halliburton. I don't know if I agree, but I'm not running the Bulls. So is Zion Williamson as complete a player as Pascal Siakam? No, of course not. But most of the time, if you're trying to make that sort of talent upgrade without paying a superstar price, you have to take a risk. Do I think that Zion is a smart risk given his health issues? Probably not, but maybe getting him in a new environment will help out. Maybe that can spark a, renaissance for the rest of his career.
All right, Sam, well, you might not be managing the Bulls, but you are managing this beard quite well. I can't wait to see how it grows as the league turns as we head over to the February 5th deadline. Big thanks to Sam and to Ashley there. Here's a look at the shortest odds to win the NBA Finals. The Thunder still favored to go back-to-back at -105. Then the Nuggets, the Knicks, and the Spurs, and the Rockets. Then we're looking at the Cavs, Celtics, Pistons, Lakers. And how about those Orlando Magic?